Howdy. New season. Officially the page has turned. It's JMac here for not a Portland pod, an NSL pod. I just find it really hard to get free time at night at the moment with an 11-week-old baby. So I find it hard to join the pod like last night. So which is sad. But for now, this is as good as I'm going to get in terms of living out my GM and I guess analytical commentary role within the NSL. So here we are. It's a Friday. It's lunchtime. Hopefully, this gets some people home if they've already listened to the great pod last night from Nels, Ethan, and Clem that covered the big trades we've had so far, which is something I will also comment on. But before I start that, a huge shout out to the admin team. There's been a huge amount of changes with the CBA rules and the position restriction rules, and I can't fathom how much time and effort that's taken on the back end and coordination between all the admins to make sure all the bases are covered. And this is a free product. It's the most incredible, immersive fantasy league I think in the entire world, and we get it for free. And the cost of that is the time of a lot of people and the admin team, predominantly. So, yeah, I know people are grateful. I just think we don't have a league without your initiative, without your hard work, without your expertise and your willingness to, I guess, keep developing your expertise to keep refreshing, refining, adding to our site, adding to our experience, and yeah, just the complicated updates that have had to be put in place to make sure the CBA is sort of acknowledged in the trades and the position restrictions now, like they've all been updated. The contracts were updated. It's just been so efficient and so purposeful. So thank you, Ben, Daz, Pete, Leroy, Lattice, anyone I'm missing out on who has helped on that front. I think yeah, I think this is means a lot to so many people, if not every manager, um, in varying degrees. So thank you for sacrificing and investing your time and allowing this sort of juggernaut of a fantasy league to keep rolling. Yeah, sincerely, thank you. Yeah, site looks great. The new updated trading, the formatting with the I keep saying too much. It's terrible, terrible public speaking. With the contract amounts now in the actual trade screen, it allows you to gauge if you're making those percentages or you're taking on too much and risking hard capping. It's very, very intricate, and GMs are going to have to think a bit more intricately as well when it comes to dealing. And look, you've got a lot of money under that hard cap level, but it's just a very finite decision to make once hard capped. Um, yeah, possibly cannot you cannot possibly go over that financial amount. So it's just something to consider, I suppose, when making deal. Is it worth it? Taking on that extra amount of salary, is it worth the hard capping? Yeah, but interesting. It's going to change the game a lot, and marrying that in with the positional changes, which were dramatic on their own. You've got two dramatic changes that have been implemented in the one off season. So it should, in theory, look very, very different as a game, um, and an experience next season. I mean, it already has. Trading is already, I feel like, will be more difficult, or at least will look different. The trading rules last year slowed everything down, um, to a degree, or changed the pace, not necessarily slowed, but it just didn't look the same, and it won't look the same again. And that's not good or bad. It just is. So, thank you, admins, for turning our fantasy into the NBA reality really, really quickly. Um, yeah, huge amount of work, I'm sure. And that was all rushed through. So here's the segue: the big trades could be pushed through, which some have been sitting. The terms have been agreed to for 5, 6, 7 weeks, and I know there's still some in the gun, ready to be launched at some point. But big trades, Phoenix and Indy kick it off. Towns for Ingram. I like the swap for both. I think Towns in 2K at least it was a little bit of a buy low. In real life, he tends to not have too many fans, despite being a very elite offensive player. He just seems like a bit of a moron, but that doesn't matter too much in our video game version of things. Ingram just hasn't. They haven't built him so far. They haven't built him to be the guy that he is sort of turning into in the NBA. I've had 2 chances to get Ingram in the last 2 seasons. When Kawhi was out injured, I kept getting offered. Probably the last time I got a trade offer, 2 years ago, I was getting offers for Ingram a few times, but I just knew he wasn't ready to carry the load I needed in 2K. So he doesn't have to do that for Indiana, but I suppose he's been bought at that price. And I think it'll just be a matter of time before he figures his 2K self out and they give him a bit more credence. Because in the NBA, he's fantastic to watch, and he's just got that slow sort of Durant style mid range, post up, fadeaway game. Obviously, nowhere near as effective or sustained, but just a very smooth multi level scorer. So that's exciting. And look, the best thing that Indy's probably ever going to do as a GM, no offense, Yeet, is just luck into Wembanyama. It's better to be lucky than good. So, yeah, it's amazing. He's going to be such a handful in 2K, and yeah, that's what a lottery is. You win the lottery. It's a massive windfall for yourself, and it's a massive missed opportunity for everyone else. But we roll on, and there'll be more drafts, and there'll be more prospects. So yeah, big trades. Then the massive 11-team trade that began as a 3-team and a 4-team and a 5-team, and then, as Ethan quoted last night, just really snowballed. Damn it, I said again. Snowballed to 11 teams, much to the chagrin of the admins, but it was very clean. All the framework really held up. And despite some miscommunication on my portion of the trade, very straightforward. And just as soon as it was on site, accurately went through. I know there's all the speculation about steal for Portland. Yeah, it's all in the eye of the beholder. So I was just felt nice to do a deal. I had multiple point guards who are of a similar ilk and archetype, so I just was happy to sell one, and was happy with the return. That big shift. Cleveland look entirely different and bigger and better. Just a big, long, athletic team they are in the wing spots and short in the big man spots. So I guess they're hoping that 2K becomes modern basketball pretty quickly. I think Phoenix were the winner of that trade. I think Miami were the winner of that trade. I liked the value I got for Mitchell, but I didn't need a point guard. So if in terms of backup point guards for late future picks, it just feels, I don't know, felt reasonable for both sides. But then again, that's what I'm going to say, and people will obviously feel differently because it's Portland. But I wished, yeah, I think Warriors have to start somewhere. They haven't been left with a huge amount after titles sort of fluttered the value away. So I hope Mitchell hits, and I hope he'll play a role in 2K for him straight away. But I hope he finds that perfect role in the NBA that makes it look good for the Warriors. Yeah, big change for Cleveland, huge change for Minnie. Davis at power forward now with all the restrictions will be insane. And Davis in a good spot in real life with the Lakers, really developing some depth and some continuity there. So that's really nice for him. Bucks, I think Nell said it, just smart veteran moves. Not afraid to spend the draft capital to just get a guy in who can be trusted, play multiple positions, can back up Mobley or Turner if one of them goes down. It's just so important to have 9-10 guys who can step in and play, or have Giannis, and you really don't need much else around you. You can just bludgeon your way to the top. No. Good team, Spurs. Good team. Um, who am I? Who else is in that trade? That some big moves. That was probably the main pieces for mine. Yeah, Cleveland, big change. Minnesota, big change. Bulls. Bulls got great value for Davis. Considering you never get equal value or impact for a star, I think they got a great package, and I think it was better value return than some other stars that it might have been traded in the last couple of days. And then you've got Utah, who are just, I don't know, they must have nude pictures of a lot of people because it just feels like, yes, there's salary easing and there's some more intricate layers where there might be some value for the other teams. But I think to not give up any of your real best assets and just collect the best assets in the trade is just a huge win, regardless of if the other team are getting what they want as well. So Utah are just, they say they're rebuilding, but if you're not in the playoffs with that team, you're failing. So I'm interested to see how Jace handles it. I feel like we've got a portion of the managers who are totally driven to win and are all in and happy to sacrifice some future value and security. And then you've had the rebuilders who love the draft process and that don't want to be hasty and they're happy to just sort of build and enjoy the small wins. And there's enough of those guys. But like I said, again. Utah really just that they ripped that switch from slow to go. So it's very, very exciting. And I don't think they're done yet at all. And that leads to some other power shifts that I was considering with Utah rising, Indy rising, Phoenix deciding and building really well this offseason and deciding last year to not wait too long and just to try and earn some wins quickly. Miami getting CJ for cheap and hopefully getting Simmons back and hopefully getting some of their other players back. A lot of the teams that were holding up the bottom of the standings are trying to win or not trying to win are in a better position to win this year. And I think it's the same with the NBA. There's just this ever increasing level of parity and competitiveness. And I think the rules are promoting that. The CBA changes and in real life and in our league. And I think there'll be some pretty disappointed teams this year when it comes to when you actually look at those teams that were the bottom 10. And Brooklyn have got Kyrie, Laurie, Jamal Murray, all with a season of 2K refinement. I don't know. Someone has to lose. It's a zero-sum game, basketball. You can't have for every win and for every achievement, there's a loser. That cost, that equity has to come from somewhere. So I have no idea. I'm not even going to predict because I got so many wrong last season. I picked Cavaliers to be bottom 5, and they were top 5 in record almost. So I won't even speculate at this point, but someone has to be at the bottom. So very exciting. A lot of hope. It's just right around that draft time. Everyone's nailed their pick and everyone's excited about their team and they've made the trades they want and it looks great on paper. And then we start playing. And a lot of teams, it doesn't end up the way they wanted it to or hoped it would or projected it would. And then other teams it really surprises. So big trades, big aspirations. And it feels like at this point, it's really just Hawks who seem happy to lose. And then you've got the teams that are half pushing, like the really talented teams like Clippers, Boston, who have pretty much just a whole roster of rookies, and they're not really looking to condense and push in too much at this point. Who have you got? Atlanta seem pretty happy to lose. Yeah, everyone else I think's really wanting to win, and they might have their pick. So there's that security to tank, to win less when it gets to the business end if they're not close enough to the playoffs. But it also seems like the community is becoming more winning focused. And I think that's a really good thing because that I think that really matters the utmost in our league, and whether everyone feels the same or not. I just think any competition, to be the best at something, is the whole crux of why a competition exists, because it's worth something. And we're not getting monetary awards, where this is all just pride here. Pride, personal pride, and also the pride or the respect and the admiration of our peers. So I think there's going to be some big fallers, with everyone sort of a lot of balance occurring um, in the league. And I mentioned, yeah, Warriors, Hawks, are teams that look like they might struggle for some wins, but I'm not going to say they won't, because there's talent on every single team. Every single team has talent. The spread is as even as I think I've seen from. Not saying there's not some teams that have really condensed a lot of talent, but top to bottom, I don't think there's ever been as many teams who are going to be viable playoff teams, play-in teams. So that'll be exciting. What else have we got? And just, I don't know, Portland update. We've got a lot of free agents, so sort of waiting for that to roll around and occur. Can't do much until then. We've got some pieces we can move, but as I mentioned, the phones don't really ring in Portland. It's more Portland front office doing the rounds and just checking in with people about checking in general about how they're going and how the team's shaping, and then if they had any needs. But it just seems like pushing shit uphill at the moment. So happy to sit back and watch some of the boasting and the celebrating of the acquired trade targets for teams, and watch the trade block and the trade talk, but not be too focused on getting anything done, because I think this we've probably got a week or two more of deals to get put through, and then the lull of the August, September months of the off season, where, yeah, you're not getting much action on site other than some small deals, some team news articles, that sort of thing. So I think there's a few more big trades sort of ready to drop, and people are just configuring those, because I've heard a lot of talks over the last few weeks that if the deals did come to fruition, that they're still sitting there ready to go. Maybe they've got to wait for free agency. But no, Portland, we're not going to get value on most of our guys, so I think we'll be rolling it forward and just seeing how this new age of the more extreme but more realistic position restrictions go. And for the first time in our history, we won't have the luxury of rolling our two bigs, and we're forced to go small based on some position restrictions of our key guys. So excited, interested, worried about how that goes and what that looks like. But I suppose everyone's had similar concerns or similar thoughts for their respective teams. And for much like winning and losing, it's a zero-sum game. So the positional changes for every team that helps. There's a team where it's stifled their build. So it's adapt or die. So we'll just see how that all looks before we do anything extreme. We've got, I'd say, 12 players on the roster at the moment. We had I keep saying that's 5. Fortunate, and I suppose validated that last season we put our two-way player stock into Ty Jerome. So we bid on him originally, and he didn't play much last year, but he was great in the NBA for the Warriors as a two-way. And he's stuck around. He has a new deal, and midway through last season, I noticed Orlando Robinson on the waivers, or the two-way waivers, and he played a great game against Rudy Gobert in his debut in the NBA, and I just was worth the gamble, and I threw, I think, 10 GMs on him, and luckily when the site ticked over, I was able to grab him and drop Jack White, and he didn't play at all last year, but I only noticed today he's been tearing up Summer League like every single young player that we have. Everyone's amazing. But if he can stick around as the end of the bench center, that's just very much handy depth for us. And that's it. It was great to think and talk NSL. I'd love to have interviews and chat to some other people and get back on those team pods, and hopefully soon my nights will be, as a dad, will be a bit less demanding. So happy trading. Take care. All the best for your teams. Peace.